Today we will talk about XLM, Franklin Templeton, and some CBDCs as well, which I have talked about before, but they are picking up more traction now. So there has been an interview with the CEO of, I can't say the company name because it has an ST, but I'll just say XLM, and the CEO of Franklin Templeton that has picked up a lot of attention, and it has a lot of information in there, and I will play a couple of parts of that here. But the big point here is that XLM is a sleeping giant. So here is the CEO of what I'll say is XLM, and I think that her words here are able to explain a lot.
How important is it to have the likes of Franklin Templeton or Euroclear willing to lean in to experimenting, right? I'm kind of curious to get Liva's perspective, but also from the kind of blockchain side as well from Stone.
So I think it's absolutely the most important thing to have traditional financial infrastructure come in and say, oh, this works. People think about the blockchain as if it's some scary thing, but it is just software. It's software that's running. It's software that is public software. It's software that lots of people build to make it happen. It's software that can be improved by people all over the world, not just by this one centralized authority who's working on it. And that's the important thing about an open public network. And I think that when you think about that and you have traditional financial players come in and say, oh yeah, we can use this software. This actually makes a whole lot of sense for us to do this, and it's much more efficient, and it allows us opportunity to take from the advancements of this global network that you have out there, and we can learn and build from that. It's crucial for this technology to be able to grow and be better in the future.
And that right there is what I always talk about with things like XLM, XRP, and XDC. It's all about traditional finance coming together with crypto. So the Masari report said that the top network for tokenized on-chain assets is, I'll say, XLM. Tokenized treasuries on XLM are the largest liquid instruments that any Wall Street firm, which is Franklin Templeton, have actually offered on chain. So here's a little bit more about Franklin Templeton, which I have done probably 2 or 3 concentrated videos on now, but there's even more on that that has been talked about since XLM was at the World Economic Forum's Davos event. So here is one of the clips that I won't play still because it is a bit long, but you have Franklin Templeton driving tokenization on XLM. You have the SEC approving Bitcoin ETFs for Franklin Templeton and 10 other companies as well. Combined asset under management is 20 trillion. BlackRock emphasizes tokenization of financial markets, and they are a partner with XLM in a CFTC advisory role. 2024 is set to be huge for XLM. So here is the first clip that I actually will play that is about more on Franklin Templeton and XLM.
I'm known for saying that Bitcoin's the greatest distraction from one of the greatest disruptions in financial services, which is blockchain. So a lot of people took that as I'm not a believer in Bitcoin. And yet, you know, launching this ETF, you can see obviously the demand that's out there for Bitcoin. And I think there's a lot of reasons why that is. I think that one, from a blockchain standpoint, the ability to pay, Bitcoin's going to be a key component of that. And the technology is going to open up a lot of really interesting types of investment opportunities. We actually launched a tokenized money market fund. We're the first mutual fund first traditional asset manager to actually launch a 40 Act fund on a public blockchain, on the Stellar blockchain.
So here is a little bit more on a different kind of a XLM tokenization application as well.
The paying agent may not be necessary anymore for certain types of asset classes. And there are compliance functions such as managing a whitelist. Sometimes you may want to have permission tokens under the ERC 1400 standard. In that case, you want to have a whitelist, and of course you need to be able to add and remove organizations and addresses from the whitelist. And so all of these things are additional value that come on top of just representing the ownership of an asset with a token. And all of these things you can do when you have a unified tokenization infrastructure, because then these smart contracts are delivered automatically along with that.
And to highlight a little bit more here about the connections, you have Casper called out here, which if you go back to your XLM map from XX, you have a lot of involvement between XLM and IBM as well. And the Hyperledger has a lot of ties into HBAR, Casper, XLM, and SHX as well. So now we shift our attention to CBDCs on XLM. And I have talked about this one application a bit, but we will talk about it a bit more.
On that chain. So we've actually had a lot of folks, I think I can think of at least 3 different, like that Ukraine did it at one point, and there's other companies that have taken Stellar and created a private instance of it. And they've used it, and Ukraine actually looked at, the government there looked at it at first, and they were like, but the value of the blockchain is that it's not that. Like, you can use it for that.
Right.
So they then have now gone to the public network and thought about moving on to the public network for that reason. So I do think that there's just, obviously, I think that there's value for all of this technology, but I think the public notion of this, and one of the questions I get, right, from any company that we talk to, they say, well, who's in charge of that?
Exactly.
Because that's your instinct, right? When you have, like, especially if I ran an IT department too when I was at Mozilla.
And I think that the big difference here with XLM in this CBDC project is that they intend on actually running this on the XLM public chain and not a private instance that runs on top of the XLM network itself. Here's a little bit more on that CBDC project as well. Well, it's more of an overview of the general topic, but one example of this is the National Bank of Ukraine, Tascom, XLM, USDC, BitInc, and DIA. They were involved in the aid for assistance in Ukraine.
You will also have stable coins. So stable coins are not cryptocurrency. It's really asset-backed digital currencies, which essentially is a bridge to CBDCs in the future, right? Not many CBDCs are implemented yet. So what we have built already is the infrastructure. Obviously, stable coins will be the bridge for that and will come in a much closer future compared to CBDCs.
And it is important to also note that XLM and XRP have been referred to as examples of, I can't say that word, but it's right there, by the Bank of International Settlements, not necessarily because they are pegged to an asset and they have a constant value, but because their transaction times are so quick that price volatility is not important, and they are effectively acting as that word right there. So here is the Ukraine USDC XLM aid program that happened probably about a year or a year and a half ago now. And essentially, they used XLM to move USDC into MoneyGram to act as financial aid. And that whole process, if you look at it from a more holistic perspective is pretty much what a CBDC would look like as well. So you have what it actually runs on. You have the financial institutions involved and the financial services institutions. And then you have what is actually being transferred. So in this case, it was USDC on XLM, but that could easily translate over to a CBDC. And we have even more to talk about that now, where it will run on the public end of XLM. So one of the interesting things about XLM is that the network actually is already pretty well configured to be able to work with financial institutions in a variety of applications. You have clawback in there now. You have KYC and authentication required assets as well, all on the XLM protocol itself, which made it easy for Franklin Templeton to choose XLM. And here's an interesting thing. You've got talk of gold tokenization on XLM through the Reserve Bank of Zimbabwe, who is working on the issuance of RBZ gold-backed digital tokens on XLM. Uhuru is a decentralized wallet that uses XLM as their core tech that has been integrated by the Reserve Bank of Zimbabwe. The upcoming financial system is set to be gold-backed, and I do agree with that. I'm just not sure how soon that will actually happen. And another note on the gold topic, I did a video a while back about sovereign gold bonds over in India and the ties into XLM and XRP. So if you're interested in that, I do have content out there on that.